Hi, children. It's Grandma Carla with more of the stories of the Pilgrims, and we're going to read A Wild Land today. The next day, some of the pilgrims sailed along the shore for several miles, still looking for a deep, safe harbor and a stream of clear water. At last, they noticed a little brook and turned their boat toward the shore. Leaving 4 men to guard the boat, the others struck out into the forest. Not a sound did they hear but the rustling of dry leaves as they walked through them, or the moaning of the wind in the treetops. The November woods seemed very bare and lonely. When they had gone a mile or two, they saw a large deer drinking at a brook. They stood still and watched him, but the deer had heard their step. He raised his beautiful head and listened a moment and then bounded swiftly into the forest. But William Bradford was not watching the deer. His sharp eyes had seen something moving on the hilltop not far away. As he gazed, he saw first the head and the shoulders and then the whole body of a man appear over the brow of the hill. Then came another and another. Could it be John Alden and the others had left the boat and come after them? Surely they would not disobey the captain, for Miles Standish had told them not to leave the boat lest the Indians take it. But now he could see their red faces and their long black hair and eagle feathers. "Look," he whispered, "Indians! Indians!" Perhaps that means work for Gideon, thought Captain Standish as he seized his short sword. "Put your sword away, Captain," said Governor Carver gently. "We want to make friends of these people if we can. Perhaps they can tell us of some town or settlement. At least we may be able to buy some food from them." So the pilgrims waited quietly in the shadows of the forest until the Indians came near. Down the hill they came, their quick eyes looking for the print of a deer in the soft earth. When they reached the foot of the hill, they saw tracks which had been made by no animal of the forest. Neither had they been made by an Indian's moccasin. There seemed to be hundreds of these tracks. What could it mean? They stood close together and peered eagerly into the forest. Then the pilgrims stepped from behind the trees and came toward them. John Carver, the governor, held out to them some strings of bright beads, but the Indians would have none of them. For a moment they gazed at the white men in terror. Then, without stopping to fit an arrow to their bowstrings, they fled. Where have they gone? Had the earth opened and taken her frightened children? Only an Indian knows how to disappear so quickly. "Ugh," they said when they were safe away. "Ugh, pale faces have come." The pilgrims followed the Indians for 10 miles, but they did not come within sight of the strangers again all that day, though they often saw the print of their feet. Sometimes these footprints showed where the Indians had climbed a hill to watch the white men. When night came, the men found a sheltered place to camp until morning. They built a fire, and while 2 watched, the others slept. In the morning they marched on again, going farther south. They saw fields where corn had been raised, but not an Indian or a house of any kind. No doubt the Indians saw them very often and knew just where they were all the time. A little later in the day, the pilgrims came to some strange-looking houses. They were round and low, with a small opening for a door. A hole in the top served for a chimney. The men went from one house to another, but could find no one. They knelt down and crawled into the wigwams, but there the fires had burned out many days before. In the wigwams they found earthen pots and dishes, wooden bowls, and beautiful baskets made of grasses and trims with shells. Now they could see that the framework of the wigwam was made of long willow branches with both ends stuck into the ground. Over the frame, the Indians had fastened large mats of woven weeds, which kept out the cold and the rain. From the inside, the wigwam looked like a great open umbrella. "What is this?" shouted one of the men as he came upon a little mound of earth near the Indian village. "Perhaps it is an Indian grave," replied another. "No, it is too wide and round for that. We will open it and see what is buried there." So they dug away the earth and found a large basket. It was round and narrow at the top and was covered with large leaves. After a good deal of trouble, the basket was raised from the hole and opened. It was filled to the brim with corn, some white, some red, and some of a bluish color. This was Indian corn. It did not grow in England or in Holland then, and the Pilgrims had never seen grain like it before. It tasted very good, and the Pilgrims were much in need of food. The provisions which they had brought from England were almost gone. So finally they decided to take back to the Mayflower as much corn as they could carry and pay the Indians for it when they could. Soon they had dug up about 10 bushels of corn. Then they went to the shore and built a fire as a signal for the boat to come for them and take them back to the Mayflower. So here are the pictures. I hope the Indians will forgive them for taking the corn. They were very hungry. And here are the Indians looking at the white men's tracks in the dirt. And at first they didn't know what they were. And then they found a deserted Indian village, and they went into the little house. The little house we call a teepee. And here are your questions. What were the Pilgrims looking for as they sailed along the shore? What were the Pilgrims looking for as they sailed along the shore? What did William Bradford see on the hilltop? What did William Bradford see on the hilltop? Why did Governor Carver tell Captain Standish to put away his sword? Why did Governor Carver tell Captain Standish to put away his sword? Were the Indians happy to see the Pilgrims? Were the Indians happy to see the Pilgrims? What kinds of things did the Pilgrims find in the Indian village? What kinds of things did the Pilgrims find in the Indian village? And the last question, what did the men bring back to the ship? What did the men bring back to the ship? And next time we will read A Narrow Escape. And this is Grandma Carla, and I love you.